MTL Sports here. We're on episode 115. All right. I know we missed last week, but we're back and we're better than ever. All right. So I guess for this week, guys, we got week 2 of the NFL. We're going to recap here coming up shortly. Plus UFC 306, Lawrence. We both watched this. UFC Noche. We're going to have our little recap going. And then also we'll squeeze in. We should have done this before the season started, but we forgot. We're going to squeeze in our award predictions for the NFL season. So, with all that being said, guys, please stay tuned. All right, everyone. We're back. Let's get into this action, all right? NFL Week 2. We didn't have any games of the week that we predicted last week, but we're going to go ahead and just recap a couple of games that we thought were pretty either good to watch or pretty impactful. I know we're only 2 weeks into the season, so there's still a lot of ground to be made up. Some teams 0-2, some teams surprisingly 2-0. We can go over all that stuff coming up here. Let's start with, of course, what I want to get to, Lawrence. Chiefs versus the Bengals. 4:30 game, CBS yesterday. 4th and 16. Big call was made, Lawrence. Determined the outcome of this game. Still, it was a well-played game by both sides. More so, Cincinnati played well after a pretty shit show performance against the Patriots in the home opener, but they definitely improved their game plan, played pretty well against the Chiefs as they always do these games. All the games in the past, 3-4 years between them have been decided by field goal, so not too surprising the outcome of this one. My thoughts before I kick it off to you, Lawrence. I think as much as I hate this narrative of everything's rigged and stuff like that, I think in this case, bro, there's no way that should have been called, especially by that back line judge. He was so far behind the play, and the flag was just so late that, you can't see from his angle if, the DB got there early. There's just no way. And the fact that it was so late, it just seems like, NFL and New York or New Jersey, wherever their replay center is, they just whispered in his ear, man, you got to throw that. And so that's what I'm going with, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. But I think there's no way that gets called. Only against the Chiefs does stuff like that happen. I'm starting to notice that. And one stat I saw on social media, don't know if it's true, Pat Mahomes has the most INTs called back by penalties since entering the league. I don't know if that stat is cap or not, but that's actually a real statistic that is quite eye-opening, to say the least. Lawrence, do you have any thoughts? Mm. Mm.
So, watching that game, the Jamar Chase thing, yeah, Jamar Chase way overreacted. It was borderline hip tackle, whatever, but to go that berserk to cost your team a possible drive, that I mean, that's part of the reason why it malfunctioned the way it did. And truly, honestly, like the fact that like the Joe Burrow thing didn't get reviewed very long. It was a quick decision that Joe Burrow just fumbled that ball and it went. Like they barely reviewed that. Like there was barely any time spent
Yeah,
watching that.
that was another suspect thing where there was no call. There was no call on the field to begin with. The refs were just like talking amongst themselves, and then I guess New York just said, "Yeah, just give him the touchdown." Like I thought that you have to. I get that New York reviews every touchdown, but don't the refs have to make the determination on the field first? They didn't even go to the replay booth. That was all done in New York or wherever the fuck their official, replay center is. So to me, that just seems suspect. Like I've never seen that. I've never seen that happen in NFL. I've never seen that happen before. A fumble like that doesn't get reviewed first to see if it's even a fumble, and then review if it. Okay, if it's a fumble, let's review the touchdown. I've never seen that before. I don't know. I don't know if you have.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the Bengals were hoed at other points in the game, and then the one final one that gets everyone up in arms, I think is fair, if someone else called it, but it's just the fact that like that's like four things that went the way of the Chiefs, and nothing went the way of the Bengals. And
Yeah, I mean Trey Hendrickson was held on every damn near every play.
yeah, he was.
There's even a clip on Twitter where he's getting like he's getting choked. Like this man's getting choked and they don't call it. I mean, it was egregious. So it was like he's getting like one arm like here and he's like getting held back like that. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I mean, like I said, I'm not one for pushing the narrative that things are rigged and stuff like that, but I mean, I feel like this happens way too often with the Chiefs for some type of influence not to be had, whether it's hey champion influence if that's a thing, or hey maybe the league is just like hey, Pat Mahomes if he's in a big game, let's pay some extra attention to some calls. I mean that may be possible. I mean they're not going to disclose that to us, right? All right, let's move on before I get too heated on this one. Lawrence, any other games this past Sunday that you were, I guess, were excited about watching, or?
Well, I can tell you, I was excited about watching the Cardinals versus the Rams.
The Rams.
And then as I'm watching it, I was excited that what was happening because I've been saying, and the Cardinals are gonna be kind of good. I think they're gonna be kind of sleeperish. I think they're gonna be kind of dangerous. Well, they beat the hell out of the Rams, and the Rams are absolutely decimated now with injuries. But the fact of the matter is, the Cardinals looked amazing, and the Cardinals looked good against the Bills, and then in turn, the Bills looked good against the Dolphins with or without Tua. I mean, they were still beating that ass with Tua in there, so that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change the narrative at all. It just maybe the Cardinals are way better than what everyone gave them credit for, and I think you have to be looking at that Bills game and saying to yourself, yeah, like Cardinals are actually pretty good, and they're actually gonna get some wins. And there's a chance that this conference comes down to the Cardinals and the Seahawks because now Debo's out, Christian
Yeah.
McCaffrey's out.
Yeah.
Ayuk didn't practice all offseason pretty much, and Brock Purdy in one game looked pretty good, and the next game looked really bad, and he's just losing weapons left and right. So there's a chance that the 49ers sputter a little bit. Still barely make the playoffs, but they're not like previous seasons because they play all the best teams. And the Cardinals and the Seahawks have to sneak up in there. And personally, I didn't think seeing I bet the Patriots spread, which is a good bet. But I didn't think the Patriots are going to be like that into the game where it goes to overtime. So that was a good watch. I tuned into that at some point about halfway through because I did not watch a bit of Carolina. I can tell you that one. And I watched a little bit of Minnesota versus the 49ers.
49ers.
It's one of those things where I kept going back to the game. And every time I went back to the game, I swear the 49ers had the ball every time. Yet they never did anything with it. And I never saw one of the Vikings touchdowns. Yet they still kept coming up with them. But the game I was watching the most of was the Jets. And to an extent, I think Will Levis outplayed Aaron Rodgers to an extent. He also did make way more mistakes. He had a turnover that Aaron Rodgers did not. So there's things like that. But he threw for more. Honestly, the offense just looked better than Aaron's, the way he was running. So I don't actually think the Jets' offense is all that amazing, or I don't even want to say functional. It just seems like the only person that can do anything is Garrett Wilson, and the two and Paul and Allen. Outside of that, it looks befuddling. I watched a little bit of Tampa Bay and the Lions. That was a good one. Like I said before, I think Tampa Bay's gonna be kind of decent. Detroit just didn't have an answer for Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay just looks like a good mixture of old and young, and they're in a weaker division, in a weaker conference, which means that they can take a little bit more advantage. But the Saints are. I mean, I was watching that game as well, just because I wanted to see the blowout. And Derek Carr at one point was like 11 for 13 for like 220 yards or something like that, and I was like, wow. He's barely throwing it. He's just throwing dimes on the field. And Kamara's just having a field day with the Cowboys. And that's everything I watched. I watched the Bengals and Chiefs like we already talked about. Did not want to watch a lot of the Sunday Night Football. And the Raiders versus Ravens, I can honestly say I didn't watch any of that because that was on local TV and I was on Sunday Ticket.
Yeah, fair enough. That's pretty much all the games on Sunday. I just want to chime in on these Cardinals, like you said. That was surprising. I didn't expect them to decimate the Rams. I mean, even when Cooper Kupp was in the game, they were still kicking their ass. I mean, that was a clinic by Kyler Murray. So shout out to them. He definitely had a talking to about not feeding Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball after his comments last week about how it's not his job to do that. Yeah, if coach says to do it, you better fucking do it. And look what happened. I mean, Marvin Harrison was just going crazy. That first touchdown catch was unreal. From a rookie Lawrence, I don't think I've ever seen a catch like that. Like, that was a tough ass catch. That was amazing. So I knew the kid was legit, but that to me solidified, hey, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to be, if not a Pro Bowl this year, damn sure next year. This kid is legit. And the Rams, they're decimated just like the 49ers. They don't really have too many more weapons left. I mean, Kyron Williams didn't play all that well, considering I guess week one he played a lot better. So I don't know where they go from here. 0-2. I guess they started slow last year, so we'll see if they can rebound Lawrence, but I mean it's not looking good for the Rams. Going back to the 49ers game, I don't know what the hell happened to Brock Purdy. He has
one good game, and he has another good game. And he has
it's kind of like, last year he put together more stretches where he had maybe a stretch of good games and a stretch of bad games. So we'll see if he kind of follows that pattern this year, or if it's just going to be, kind of how it is the first 2 weeks, where it's one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game, and he just alternates like that. But we saw how he played last year without Debo. He struggled a lot without Debo last year. Granted, he also didn't have Trent Williams during that time, so I guess that kind of plays into it. But so we'll see how he does with no Debo, but he has Trent Williams. But they also don't have CMC for, I think, at least 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
Mason's still playing well. Ayuk is just not playing well. You can tell missing training camp is doing numbers on him. He's just not performing well. So it's gonna be up to Kittle and I guess Jennings and the fullback Kyle. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's gonna be up to them to kind of fill the void left by Debo. Then I want to chime in on the Ravens. The Ravens losing to the Raiders and at home, that is very concerning. The Ravens have, and we highlighted this when we previewed the division, right? We said, the Ravens, they're gonna be a little bit lower than last year, just because they lost Queen, they lost some offensive linemen, and they have like top 3 toughest schedule this year. So losing to the Raiders aren't a bad team, but they're also not a good team, right, Lawrence? So losing to them at home, your home opener, is not good. Coming off the Chiefs loss, where you played decently, and then this one you kind of just gave the game away. So I'm I'm thinking the Ravens are in a bad spot. Definitely worse off than the Bengals because Cincinnati has the Commanders and then Carolina in the next 2 weeks. I think the Ravens have uh, Cowboys and Bills. So I mean, could be two more losses, could be two wins. We don't know, but I mean, I'm concerned. I don't know if you are concerned about the Ravens. Down 0-2, Lawrence.
I don't think I'm concerned about the Ravens. I think their season finish is what's going to be more interesting, because I think they're going to be in the playoff race and everything like that. I just think they have a little bit of an issue with, I guess I want to say, like, the way they're changing the way they're going to make this team run. In the last couple of years, we knew how it was going to go, but this offense isn't what it once was. Likely is way more of a factor than what we or anyone thought at the beginning of the season was going to be. And I think he's just getting used to his weapons. Because I feel like this team is going way more owing towards heavy runs and heavier tight end play. We're seeing less out of, like, Zay Flowers, per se. But maybe that's just because Lamar's not starting off as hot as he normally does. I mean, people can start slow.
Yeah. This is a situation we have to monitor. 0-2 isn't the end of the world, but I mean, my concern is at a 5 out of 10, and growing by the week. If they lose again to the Cowboys, they'll definitely shoot up. I guess last I want to touch on, what other game did I really, really watch like that? Honestly, none of the other games. I pretty much I had Sunday Ticket on and I had Red Zone with the 4 games at once. So you kind of already touched on a lot of these games. So I don't really have too much else to touch on. But definitely a surprise by the Buccaneers. I did not expect that. And the Packers, Malik Willis. Actually, I did want to say this. Malik Willis looked like a decent quarterback against the Colts. The Colts aren't a bad team, but Malik Willis did not look as bad as he did his other starts. So that was actually surprising. I was like, okay, this kid, I didn't think he was going to make it in the NFL. His play against the Colts, I'm like, okay, he can suffice. Definitely as a starter, but I think he can suffice as a journeyman backup.
Okay, respectable.
Cool. Let's go to awards. Let's start with NFL MVP. Lawrence, who do you predict will come out with this MVP trophy this year?
I've seen a couple weeks. The long shot say, now is Derek Carr, but he'll come back down that road. I'm probably gonna go more to a team that's kind of he's put more on than he had to before, and I think it's looking okay so far. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I'm gonna take Josh Allen. If he's able to have a good record with this team, with the lack thereof of weapons, then I think he gets it. I think he just has more versatility. I think they run the ball way sweeter than they had before, but I think that's also because he's a threat at running. So Cook just gets forgot about because a lot of times, he's not even doing runs. He's doing quick out routes where he's just going straight to the sideline, and Josh Allen's ability to run forces guys to go inward and just forget about Cook on the outside, and then he just runs for massive yards. And it happened a few times against the Dolphins, which is not saying much because it's the Dolphins, but still, regardless, I think it's really important to show that Josh Allen without Diggs is looking pretty good. Not like a prolific quarterback, but he's getting jobs done and he's putting up the points to show for it.
Okay. Fair enough. Josh Allen is definitely a good selection there. I'm trying not to base this off of what we've seen in the first 2 weeks. So with that being said, this is tough. This is honestly tough. I'm gonna go with my man Joe. I think Joe, we already kind of hinted at, the run game won't be as strong as it has been in the past. No Mixon. So I think they're going to kind of pad his numbers. You kind of already seeing it where, for example, on that second interception, the one-handed one by Cam Taylor-Britt, instead of running the clock out like a smart coach would, what does Zach Taylor do? He tries to pad Joe's stats and runs 3 pass plays in a row. So I think we're going to see just instances of Taylor trying to pad Joe's stats, even if it's not probably the smartest thing to do. So I think he's going to have good numbers. I think we're going to rebound from the Chiefs' loss. Because I don't think we've ever rebounded that fast. I mean, we basically just couldn't beat the refs. So I think they're going to put a good run together, learn from the mistakes. They're going to get, T back, get Jamar going. I think Joe's going to have a pretty good year. So I'm going to go Joe for MVP.
Bold.
Offensive player of the year. Now, preseason, I was thinking CMC again, but he had his calf injury. So, and that's kind of gone into this season. But still, I'm going to leave that out. I was going to go Bijan. I think, new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith not being there, whoever this new guy is, he looked good in week 1. And I think he can only go up from there. So I'm going to go Bijan. I think he has all the makings to do it. What about you, Lawrence?
I mean, personally, who I think is going to be Offensive Player of the Year, I'm actually going to lean more so on... I'm going to say it like this. I think Justin Jefferson has a good shot. I also think... what's his name? Josh Jacobs with the Green Bay Packers has a great shot as well. So those are going to be 2... I'm going to put 2 dark horses more so out there. Because I feel like... Yeah, Josh Jacobs had a fumble yesterday. But the man ran for like 118 yards. So
wow.
I saw that he had 118 yards. So he was doing a lot of the running to keep the load off Malik Willis. And the fact that they were able to run like that, if he can just start putting touchdowns on the board, or being part of the touchdown making process, then yes, I think he has a good season. And the reason I say Justin Jefferson is because Sam Darnold's still cooking with them. So it makes it look less like a Kirk Cousins thing and more just like, oh, Justin Jefferson's just really that good.
Yeah, fair enough. Defensive player of the year, who are you going with?
Well, part of me knows it's going to come from a good team. But regardless, even if I say it's going to come from a good team, part of me thinks that this team's going to be good enough in which this player can win this award. And I have 2 different people in mind, but one of them's just, safe to say, just on a way better team than the other.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I think Max Crosby, so far through the season, has kind of led like a dark horse run after it. However, if I'm thinking more realistic on a team that's, let's just say it, a better, they're just better, just a better team. I'm kind of leaning. I can't think of his name right now.
What's the team?
For the Lions, Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson, yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson.
He's a beast. I think for me, I hate to say this, hate to be in division. I think TJ Watt's gonna, he's gonna, make some noise this year after, leading the league in sacks last year, and I don't even think he plays high in Defensive Player of the Year voting. So I think he has some extra motivation. I think he wants to be the better of the 2 Watts. So I think he's gonna go for Defensive Player of the Year. A dark horse candidate, if I had to go with one, I'm gonna go Jalen Carter. I think if anyone can affect the Eagles defense as much as they needed to, with no Reddick not being there, and the other guy retired, right? What's his name?
Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, he retired, right? So I think he has big shoes to fill, but I think if he's as good as advertised, I think Jalen Carter has a shot. But Max Crosby is a good pick. I think the first 2 games he looked unblockable, so I like that pick. Um, Offensive Player of the Year. I'm gonna go with Jaden Daniels. He's looked even before the season. I was gonna go Jaden Daniels. I think he has more.
You mean offensive rookie?
Yeah, offensive rookie of the year. I think he has more. I'm not gonna say he's better than Caleb, but he has more talent than Caleb. If that makes sense. I think with the running ability, this man's off the charts, and he just has less weapons. So I think it'll be more impressive if he can put up big numbers with only Scary Terry, basically.
I'm gonna take Marvin Harrison Jr. Trying to fantasy for that idea that he will be that kind of weapon. You scold Kyler Murray a little bit, and the next week he comes out and he's using him like an absolute weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just shows a lot of what's about to happen there in Arizona. And Arizona is also known for having a really good wide receiver almost at all times. So whether they have the sequence of time with Anquan Bolden and Fitzgerald, or just Fitzgerald by himself, like they've always had a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, that's true. They know how to draft and or trade. Defensive rookie of the year. Honestly, I'm trying to think of rookies. Maybe.
Personally, I can say I don't know enough rookies so far throughout the season to give a good narrative on it.
Yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like this last draft is mostly offensive base. So
no, I mean I know there are some out there. I do know there are. I can't look at a team and go, oh my god, that rookie on that defense. No,
yeah,
I can't.
Fair enough. This might be one we come back to at a later date. Coach of the year. Who do we think is going to be coach of the year?
I'm going to go Vikings coach.
Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell.
Cool. I think for me, I'm going to go with, let's see. I think a good dark horse would be Robert Saleh. I think if they can get to double-digit wins, they're going to make this whole narrative of, oh, Aaron Rodgers, they said he's washed. Oh, he's coming off the Achilles. Oh, there was so much at stake in New York, and Robert Saleh brought it all together. So I think he has a good dark horse shot. But also, I think Sean McVay, I think if, losing Puka, losing Cooper, if he can still get this team to rally, even before this season, a lot of people didn't have them, in the upper echelon of the NFC. It's still early, so I think if they can make a nice rally and they definitely can compete in the division, hopefully, I think they can, or Sean McVay can probably win this award for who knows how many times he's won it. I think he won at least twice, so why not one more? I think that's it, pretty much, right?
That's
MVP, Defensive Player of the Year.
Comeback Player of the Year, but at this moment, I'd give that to Sam Darnold.
Oh, Comeback Player of the Year. Yeah, I think that goes to Aaron Rodgers. I think that goes to Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to have like one 300-yard game, and they're just going to like, oh, he's back. Look at him. He's back. And they'll give it to him. Transitioning. Lawrence, UFC 306. UFC Noche. I only watched the main card. I didn't get into the prelims. So I don't know where you want to start off. You are the UFC aficionado here. I'll let you take this one away. How do you feel about this event? The graphics were excellent. I love them. The sphere itself looked fantastic. I wish I was there, but I'm broke. I don't have millionaire money.
So, anywho, what do I think about the event? I thought the event was okay. I thought the ending was it was going to fall off hard towards the end, which is kind of what I thought personally. the real main draw of the fight was Diego Lopez. I thought that was gonna be the best fight of the night. It wasn't the best fight of the night, but it was entertaining, to say the least. Um, to be honest with you, the prelims went by really fast, and I didn't particularly pay much attention to them as they went by. Um, there was just nothing I wanted to see personally because it was like an all Mexican card, but like the final two fights, well, then the final two fights, but the Diego Lopez Ortega and Dillashaw versus O'Malley, like you made a Mexican card and then you didn't really finish Mexican with the card. It just didn't feel right. And no offense to Grasso, but I thought Shevchenko was gonna murder her. I'm surprised she didn't get the knockout or submission at any point in time, but she got the unanimous decision, and it wasn't much of a fight to begin with. I called that one. I had that win at Diego Lopez, and then for some reason, I got a little excited and I got a little crazy, and he almost lost. But I took Rodriguez to beat Osborne, and that was a little bit of a sweater. But then it was easy going the rest of the night, and then once I was up, I threw a little money on Dillashaw just because I don't like O'Malley, and that was probably one of the most boring main events. I didn't even stay awake to watch it. I was kind of over it by that time, and I was ready to go to sleep, so I did. And I just watched the replays of it because, no offense, but that women's championship fight really drained the gas tank because there was just nothing happening. One girl was just getting her ass beat the whole time. There's no action, and I lost my will to watch this fight card. And Dana White even said something similar after the fact. It was disappointing how the card ended, and I think a lot of people were pointing that it would end like that, just because the last two, there's just such a discrepancy difference between the two of them. Like Shevchenko's just much better than Grasso, but Grasso just cleanly knocked her out and got the victory that way. And Dillashaw is just a much better grappler and is going to take advantage of the fact that O'Malley cannot, to more of an extent that Aljamain Sterling should have and didn't.
Yeah, I agree with you. The first three of the main card were entertaining, watchable, especially the first two where, I mean, it was going crazy. The first two fights of the main card were excellent. Lopez versus Ortega and Ortega's getting his ass beat the whole round, almost got knocked out quite a few times.
Yeah, but I wanted him to get knocked out. I was praying. Ooh, I
but he's a tough guy, so he willed his way back. And then once we get to the championship fights, I'm a casual. I'm just gonna say it. But these grapplers, all right, I know you might have a different opinion, Lawrence, but these grapplers, I think, I'm not gonna say ruining the UFC, but they damn sure are making it hard to watch it. I think Dana kind of alluded to it when he said, hopefully most people just watch the first three fights because the last two, he was disappointed in how they, fought in the ring. But hey, you're the matchmaker, Dana. What do you expect?
Yeah, but he doesn't have much of a choice when Sean O'Malley's the champion and Merab is sitting there like he's been passed over multiple times. He's technically the best in the world underneath them. You have to let him take it. What you're doing is hoping that O'Malley actually can keep distance on him, and just could not at all. O'Malley let's just be real, just flat sucked.
It was
completely on O'Malley why that fight sucked ass.
Wasn't a good fight to watch at all. But I will say these grapplers, these wrestlers, I feel like, just out wrestling your opponent, I feel like shouldn't constitute a win per se. I feel like if you're gonna get someone on the ground, a lot of people are saying this, like, don't just like lay on them and just say, hey, you can't get up. Like, if I wanted to watch wrestling, I'll watch, NCAA wrestling. I don't want to watch this at the UFC. I want to see people get hit, get knocked out, or get submitted. And if you're a great grappler, why can't you also go for a submission? If you're that good, just get the fight over with. Why are we just laying on top of O'Malley? I don't know.
Ground and pound him. It'd be okay if it was ground and pound going on, but half the time they're just laying on top of them and hugging them.
Yeah,
I feel like they really need to start pushing the fact that, like, if you're not doing anything, and the guy on the ground is actively hitting you more than you're moving, you got to stand him up faster because we need something happening here. Because, like you said, the just holding on the ground is touring. Nobody cares. It's, there's just there's wrestlers who can make it look fun too. You can throw your guy around the ring, throw him around the ring. Like, at least make the wrestling entertaining. Don't just make it boring.
Yeah, I think either like you said, and I feel like Herb tried to, like he was like keep it going, and then DC and like Joe are having a problem. Like, you need to stop coaching them, and you need to just officiate. I'm like, bro, he knows people don't want to watch this, so he's trying to like speed it up, and you guys are bitching about that. Why? Like,
just instead of trying to speed it up, just speed it up. Just
yeah,
don't
yeah,
even ask about it. Just take them out. Because
yes.
obviously, it was just if you have to keep asking, the problem's consistent.
So I feel like, maybe the refs need to be, more focused on that, or we just need a rule change. I don't know if that's possible. Like if if you lay on the guy for like 10 seconds, you don't punch him, like you just stand up. Like I feel like we need a rule change, and because the UFC is becoming more global, we're going to get more of these wrestlers. So I feel like more of the North American people, Lawrence, right? They're more of, they're strikers, and if they are wrestlers, they'll try to submit you because they're doing jujitsu. They'll just armbar you or get you in a triangle. These overseas guys, these Eastern Europeans, these, Russian fighters, whatever the case is, the Middle East guys, they're just straight up wrestling. They're not doing UFC. So there needs to be some type of a rule change, I feel like. I don't know if that's possible, but I don't know how you feel about that.
I think you're right. I genuinely get bored watching nothing happen. And some of these most recent fights, just nothing happens. Simple as that.
Yeah. Nothing else to say right there. We did get what 30 was it? They announced a 308 card, a 309 card, the one at MSG. John Jones and
Miocic.
Yeah. John Jones says it's probably gonna be his retirement fight, so
Of course it is.
so we got that to look forward to, but 307 is October 5th, and that's what, in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Like that's pretty close. So something that we'll cover when it gets closer to, but exciting stuff. UFC is pretty exciting. La Noche was nice. I liked it. Anything else, Lawrence, before we get on out of here? Monday Night Football is about to start, or if it hasn't already.
Started. I'm tuning. Nothing more to add. I'm not a Bryce Young hater, but I'm actively excited that we're gonna go Andy Dalton, the red rifle, for a little bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it. People are saying, "Oh, you can't change on Bryce too early." He just hasn't looked good, and honestly, it's putting him out there again and again, hoping for something to change, just madness. So if you put in Andy Dalton and it looks bad again, then you just know it's not Bryce. But if you put in Andy Dalton and they look competitive, then you know it's Bryce. Because to be honest, like watching the game, he just looked bad, and the wide receivers were getting open, and he was getting protection. He just did not know what to do.
Fair enough. I feel like this sort of happened last year, right? Didn't he get hurt, and then they rode Andy Dalton until Andy Dalton started looking bad or something?
No, they played Andy Dalton for one game. Andy Dalton looked pretty competitive against the Seahawks, and then they went away from it. Even though Andy Dalton looked pretty good.
Well, that's something to look forward to, I guess.
So we're hoping Andy Dalton looks really good, and we'll let it ride. I don't even want to win. I just want to look competitive, and that's so sad to say.
We'll have to see. We'll talk about that more on Wednesday, but nothing else from me. So let's go out of here, watch some Monday Night Football. MTL Sports Podcast, y'all, episode 115. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in on Spotify, all that good stuff, and we will see you later on this week. Peace.